outbursts during the trial and him attempting to address an issue that was addressed by this court the very first time I ever had Mr.
We're
Brooks
back, ladies and gentlemen.
in the
Sorry about that.
courtroom dealing with victim C's father, and this court certainly working with him in the past. I stand by the record that was made at that time. All of that was put on the record, and it's not an issue this court frankly needs to address today. It is frankly a blatant attempt by Mr. Brooks to be disruptive, to take the focus off of what I think is some very emotionally charged victim statements here today from those who have been involved with the Dancing Grannies and people who lost their lives on November 21 of 2021. I warned him a couple of times, even in my words, backtracked a little, told him I would have the state have the next victim make the statement, and if he then interrupted, I would have him removed. He wanted to debate with me. He interrupted me repeatedly, and at that point, there was also an outburst by a member of the gallery. I addressed that, and then I indicated the courtroom would be cleared. I think I owe it to the individual who was kicked out, because I've given Mr. Brooks this opportunity on many occasions. If that individual would like to come back into the courtroom and can do so respectfully without an outburst, they are invited back in by this court. Mr. Brooks, I will also advise you that you are welcome back into this courtroom if you can abide by the rules of decorum and civility. While you have a right to be present for this sentencing hearing, you do not have a right to interrupt the court, to disrupt the court, and to be defiant, which is how I would describe your very recent behavior. And that is why this court, under the authority in Illinois versus Allen, did remove you from the courtroom. I have the ability, of course, with the technology. He's able to hear, he's able to see. We are able to see him. He's muted right now. While I attempted to have him appear without being muted, he spoke over me. If he wants to come back in before it is his turn to speak to the court and present individuals who wish to speak on his behalf, he needs to simply ask the bailiff, and then, of course, abide by the rules of civility and decorum. It's, of course, a very emotional day for many people here, if not all. And I think even more today than any other day, respect needs to be what guides everyone in this courtroom, and not interrupting and not having outbursts, no matter how difficult the situation may get at times. So I've made the record. I will unmute, but if there is any interruption whatsoever, I'll have to mute him once again. So the unmute is off. And once again, I've confirmed that the technology is working, and all right, what do you need to do? I mean, we can move one of the cameras, but I mean, we were behind it before, so. He will be able to hear. He may not be able to see the individuals speaking. I would note the podium is behind him in any event, and I don't believe he's turned back at all during this hearing, and it's standard, really, protocol for an inmate to remain looking forward, so I don't see any issue with that. He will be able to hear. With that,
we will need to screen share for the next speakers, Your Honor. There's some photos that we'd like to display, just to give you a heads up on that.
I believe Madam Clerk will be able to do that for us. When we get that up and running, then the next person can come on up. Looks like it's working. All right, thank you, sir. As a reminder, if you would at least let me know your name if you want to, or son of victim so-and-so, that would be very helpful, as I am trying to take notes of everyone who is making a statement. No, you are not muted. I expect you to be quiet as the proceedings continue.
I was just asking, was I muted? I didn't know. You just said I was muted.
I'm sorry for the interruption, sir. Please continue, or please start.
My name is Marshall Sorensen, and I am son to a murdered mother, Virginia Sorensen. On a day that I was planning to put up a Christmas tree with my family, I received a call from my dad that would turn my whole family's world upside down. When I answered the phone, my dad told me something happened to your mother during the parade and she didn't make it. I said, "What do you mean she didn't make it?" My dad proceeded to tell me that she was killed. Of course, I didn't believe him at first, but when I hung up the phone, reality set in. As I wiped the tears from my eyes, I thought to myself how I was going to tell my two little girls, as they wait in the other room to put up the Christmas tree, that they will never see their grandma again. As a parent, one of the hardest things to endure is to see your family in pain. Witnessing my daughter's hearts get shattered into a million pieces in an instant that night, trying to understand what happened to their Grammy, is something I wish to this day I could make go away. I love my mom unconditionally, and so did my family. My mom would jump at the opportunities to spend time with my daughters. I was blessed with having that opportunity with my mom, but my girls were cheated out of that because of the acts of one evil person. Mr. Brooks, you had mentioned that you will never be able to get the chance to hold your grandchild. To that I say good. Maybe then, while you're locked behind bars, you will experience a little bit of the pain that you inflicted on 6 families when you killed their loved ones during a Christmas parade. My family will never get the chance to hug my mom one last time and say goodbye because of your actions. You will never understand what you took from my family, and by your actions in court, you don't seem to care either. You murdered my mom, and for that reason, I'm asking the judge to sentence you to life in prison without parole. I continue to have a hard time understanding why such a loving person like my mom had her life ended in a tragic way. But I do have some peace knowing that she left this earth doing something she loved. I encourage people now, after a year, that if someone asks you how my mom died, Virginia Sorensen, that you respond with, "Let me tell you how she lived," because that is what made her so special to so many people. When I was a kid, most of my superheroes wore capes. As of today, myself and family, we have a new one, and she wears a robe. Thank you, Judge Darrell. Words cannot express my family's gratitude with the time and effort you put into this trial. I want to also thank Sue, Zach, Leslie, Detective Casey, Jen, Pepper, the witnesses, the jury, for the sacrifices they made so justice could be served. Lastly, I want to thank the city of Waukesha for their community of love and support they displayed towards our family during this time. Going forward, my family will refuse to live in fear because of the acts of one evil person. My family will continue to attend parades, and at this year's Waukesha Christmas parade, we plan on walking with the dancing grannies. We will do this in remembrance of my mom and show that we are stronger together. I ask you today to please remember the pictures shown on the screen during this year's Waukesha Christmas parade. This picture was taken before a previous parade. My hope for you is that it reminds you of the true representation of what the Waukesha Christmas parade stood for before this tragic event, which is the unconditional love between families while celebrating the spirit of Christmas. May angels watch over you and you remain strong. I would like now to bring up my daughter, Brooke, to say a couple words about her grandma. She held the banner with my mom at previous parades, as shown in the picture above.
Thank you for being here, young lady. What would you like to tell me?
Hello, my name is Brooke Sorensen. I'm Virginia Sorensen's granddaughter. The things I miss about my grandma are me and my sister Mackenzie doing foot races around the driveway, and my grandma would do commentary and time us. She always cheered us on at all of our activities. I would DJ at dancing granny parties and carry the banner at parades with my grandpa while Grammy danced. When we would get on the school bus, she would say reading is the key to learning to be nice, kind, brave, and angels watch over you. After school, we would talk on the porch. Other times when we came over to our house, we would play games together, go to the playground, have drawing contests, dance parties, and work on granny routines. She would give us snacks when we watched some of our favorite movies like Polar Express and Coco. When we first found out that she was gone, I started to cry, and I would cry every night. I missed her so much, and still do today. Darrell Brooks, you took her from me, my sister, and my family. The things we will miss the most are not seeing her again, her smile, her laugh, being able to talk to her, and doing fun things with her. My sister and I pray every night for our Grammy and our family. Grammy, I'll see you in my dreams.
I'm being told Mr. Brooks would like to come back. Before I do that, sir, I need a pledge from you that you will abide by the rules of courtesy and decorum and you will not interrupt. Can you do that, sir?
I'm not going to interrupt.
All right, then I will give him that opportunity to come back. We'll clear the courtroom while we do that. Thank you. We'll take a brief recess.
I give him 5 to 10 minutes before he gets kicked out again.
If it's that much, come on, good luck. This guy couldn't keep his mouth shut if it literally would get him a pardon right now. He couldn't keep his mouth shut. He just couldn't. We know this, Javier. He's got something to say.
People, those last two statements, he couldn't take them what they were saying. He wanted to throw some shit back at them.
Yeah, he tried to interrupt it. It was hitting hard, is what it was.
Yeah.
That was the reality hitting. He could do all the antics that he's literally wanting to do, no play on words on your channel. But at the end of the day, he's going to have to answer to this.
Yeah.
This life and beyond. Because I think he's going to have a rough time when he hits the big house. That's what I think. Man, oh man.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be I don't know if he's a hero or what. They're all lowlifes in there, so who knows?
No, I don't think they'll look at him like, oh, yeah, you the man that ran over those family. Nah, that's a pussy thing. It really is. It ain't like he went and killed someone evil. He killed innocent people and just kept rolling.
Yeah.
If they wouldn't have caught him, he'd still be living out there free in the wind. So, all right,
How long did the last break take?
I don't know. I mean, it was quick. I mean, a couple minutes until it flipped back. I mean, should we continue to stream or? I think we should continue. I say just continue to stream, ladies and gentlemen.
And we could just mute it and wait for them to come down.
Do whatever we want to do, really.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the best thing right now. So, yep. So, ladies and gentlemen, if anybody watches this down the road, you get a chance to see this. My name is Joey Nuggs. I'm here with my friend Javier. He's from another channel here on YouTube called Courtroom Antics. And, of course, mine's the Joey Nuggs Show. If you like any of these shows, feel free to subscribe to our channels here on YouTube. Also, shout out to all the YouTube subscribers worldwide. I got a real appreciation what it takes now to come up with some unique content. And to me, I think this is some great content right here. I mean, the people are going to want to see this one way or another. So it's another stream that you can catch to be able to see this trial. It's been going on for some time now, and it's something else. Whew. Man, this man, he got in an argument with his girlfriend, his baby's mama, an ex-girlfriend, got in a car and just rode through a Christmas parade, killed 6 people and injured many, many, many people on this very day. I mean, today was the first day of the victim's impact statements.
I wonder if the bomb threat was from his family.
I don't know. That's another thing. The you people, if you didn't see the earlier streams, you can go back. I think it was part 2 or part 3 where we took a break, and Yeah, there was a bomb threat thrown in, called in on the courthouse, and the sheriff's department's all on top of it. The judge made a statement that she feels safe until she hears something different from the sheriff's department, that she's going to continue court proceedings, and that's what she's doing. But now they're bringing Mr. Brooks back into the courtroom, and that's what we're taking this break now. And the stream's kind of dead because it takes him a while to take him from the back courtroom back to the front, calm himself down in front of these people, and he's going to act a fool. I'm sure this isn't the last time we're going to hear from
he's
him.
going to use this to delay the proceedings.
Yeah, it's all it is. It's a way of continuing, pushing on and delaying the proceedings. It's ridiculous.
This is like one of the last few tools he has.
Yeah, he has nothing else. I mean, he obviously showed to the world that he's a horrible mind, and he's not no lawyer. So, yeah, you got the worst client in the world when you're your own judge and your own jury, and he was his own lawyer. Good Lord. He basically signed his own death certificate.
He wrote his own law book.
He did. Oh, my God. Some of the things that he said. What was the list of things, Javier? I think you made a list of it, didn't you?
What, the tacit agreements and
every comments that he had to say,
hearsay, relevancies, and all this shit that he was just making.
Oh yeah, relevancies, hearsay.
Been advised that there may
oh,
be
we're
an
back.
issue with the screen in front of Mr. Brooks, but I would note that the large monitor that's directly above the witness stand and the other monitor, which is closer to Mr. Brooks behind the clerk, has been working the entire time. Zach,
And might I say,
maybe coming in to
Jennifer
look at it, but we'll
Ardour,
keep
you're a
going
beautiful
while that
lady.
happens, since
I know you're married, but
we're able to
keep me
see
in mind if it don't
and hear
work out.
that way through the monitors. So, please go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
The stare.
That man looks like he's deep in thought.
I didn't know.
Being polite, being professional, but you don't know what's going to happen. They already kicked one person out for screaming.
Did they take his monitor away, or he?
I don't know. They're
Say
setting
put
it back up
something
here.
Up
You
and
get
I'll-
quiet here. I don't want to talk over the proceedings.
That was like way earlier when we first came.
It's working. Okay, great. It's working. All right, my apologies, sir, for that interruption.
Thanks, Judge. I popped the power button.
All right, well, there's nothing on,
Yeah, we did that.
there's nothing on it at the moment.
Okay, yeah, as long as you got that, you should be fine.
Court, really quick.
No, we're gonna keep going, sir.
I just wanted to apologize for our. That's all. I wasn't to.
All right, I
Address
appreciate that,
anything.
sir. Thank you. Thank you. I really do. All right, go ahead, sir.
My name is Sean Sorensen, Virginia Sorensen's oldest son. Without warning, on a joy-filled Sunday in November, our family and others were devastated by an unfathomable act of evil. My mother, Virginia Sorensen, Jenny, a loving and devoted grandmother to 6, mother to 3, sister to 3, and wife of 56 years to my father, and friend to countless others, was taken from us for no comprehensible reason. My mom didn't let her age of 79 slow her down, be it the dancing grannies, her horses, dogs, cats, chickens, travel, working as a medical records nurse, holiday get-togethers, the occasional brandy old-fashioned, and having sleepovers and movie parties with her grandchildren. She enjoyed the company of others and was always up for an adventure. She never tired of listening to her grandchildren's dreams and inspiring them to shoot for the stars. She was so proud of all 6 of them in this photo: Carter, Claire, Gabrielle, Savannah, Brooke, and Mackenzie. She was killed doing something she loved and enjoyed with the dancing grannies, and although we were denied the chance to be with her when she passed, we know she was surrounded by friends and the caring strangers who sought to save her life, so we find comfort that she not die alone. She was a compassionate person. She was always telling us, God bless you, or angels watch over you. She will be missed with an aching emptiness in all our hearts. Judge Darrell, thank you for overseeing this trial. You define excellence in your profession, and we are so grateful you were assigned to this case. Thank you to the 12 jurors of this strong community who carefully and unbiasedly listened to the evidence and brought back 76 guilty verdicts. Thank you, Sue Opper, Leslie Basie, Zach Witshaw, and the entire Waukesha District Attorney's team for ensuring Mr. Brooks would not escape the consequences of his despicable actions. Thank you, Detective Tom Casey, and the many law enforcement officers of Waukesha and other jurisdictions who investigated, collected evidence, and testified to ensure Darrell Brooks will never be a free man. Detective Casey came to my dad's house in the early morning hours of November 22nd to deliver the heart-wrenching confirmation that my mother had passed, and he has greeted us every day in court since then. I want to thank the Victim Witness Program, Jen Dunn, her staff, and their best comfort dog, Pepper, for their kindness and constant comfort to all the families affected this past year. She and her office have been a rock for us to cling to when events have threatened to emotionally overwhelm us. I want to thank the Waukesha Women's Center for supporting Corey Runkle and Erica Patterson in their testimony against Mr. Brooks and his abuse, and the good that the center does for other abused women. I want to thank the first responders and medical personnel at the parade who rendered aid to the injured and attempted to save my mother's life that night. And a nurse that we met at the memorial one night by chance, Sarah, who held my mother's hand that night. But she was already dead. A severed spine, multiple skull fractures, pelvic fractures, and her Christmas hat wedged under the windshield wipers of the Ford SUV. There was no ambulance ride or hospital stay. She was gone in a split seconds after Mr. Brooks smashed into her, but she will live on forever in our hearts. Finally, I would like to thank the Waukesha community and thousands of others for their outpouring of love and prayers to the families and victims of this unspeakable tragedy. I have few words for Mr. Brooks. Just saying that name brings anger and hatred into my heart. And I want to move forward after this sentencing with the happy memories I hold of my mother. I sat silently almost every day in this courtroom, bit my tongue, restrained myself from jumping over this divide to administer my thoughts of justice. As Mr. Brooks droned on about where the plaintiff was in this case, who the plaintiff was in this case. You've already heard, there are many plaintiffs here. I'm here, right now. I've been here all along. And now he gets to hear from me zero remorse for his actions and depraved indifference to life. His fake tears in court were never for those harmed, but only for himself and the freedom he has lost. His narcissistic behavior, disgusting trial antics, and defiance to accept any accountability displays how truly unworthy he is of anyone's forgiveness. While we lost my mom instantly, I hope his 76 sentences pass in a slow, miserable, depressing existence as a reminder of the many lives he shattered. There are two others I hold culpable in my mother's murder. Dawn Woods, the mother who knew her son's felonious criminal history and penchant for violence, yet bailed him out of jail for $1,000 after he had assaulted Erica Patterson by running her over with Miss Woods' Ford Escape. She continued to allow him to drive it and enabled his violence and murders that Sunday afternoon. The other is John Chisholm, the Milwaukee County District Attorney, whose misguided and ill-conceived bail reform policies let a violent, multi-convicted felon back into our community and onto our streets while already out on bail from a previous violent felony. Mr. Chisholm disregarded his duty to keep the people of this community and state safe from repeat criminal offenders and allowed a career criminal to snuff out 6 innocent lives. He is a coward who hides from the accountability for his office's negligence. If he had a tiny, single sliver of integrity, he would resign. Not once has Mr. Chisholm said 3 simple words to these victims and families: I am sorry. At least Miss Woods in her many media interviews has the humanity and understanding to say those words to the families affected. 6 families have been bound together forever in grief. 6 families have lost loved ones who are cherished and can never be replaced, but forever remembered with love. 6 names I will now never forget: Jane, Jackson, Bill, Tammy, Lee, and Ginny. As my mom was fond of saying, angels watch over us. And I know now there are 6 more watching over us. Judge Darrell, my request is simple: maximum terms of imprisonment, every single charge, life without parole for all 6 counts of intentional homicide. Thank you, and all who played a role in bringing justice to the families in this community.
I'm David Sorensen, Virginia Sorensen's husband of 56 years, and I'm wearing this Dancing Granny sweatshirt in her memory. A few thank yous, first of all. Thank you, Judge Darrell. You earned your angel wings in this trial. Thank you to the jurors and those who testified who had to experience the horror of November 21st of last year all over again. Thank you, District Attorney Sue Upper, Leslie, Zach, and her excellent team. Thank you to Tom Casey, Waukesha Law Enforcement, first responders both on and off duty at the parade, medical personnel at the parade, and the area hospitals that cared for the injured. Thank you, Jan Dunn, and your caring team in the Victim Witness Office, especially my new furry friend, Pepper. Here's a thank you that nobody knows about. Thank you to J.J. Watt. He's a professional football player for the Arizona Cardinals, who gave this community money for funerals for the victims, 6 family funerals. Finally, thank you to the kind and compassionate people of Waukesha County, state of Wisconsin, and others from around the country and the world who have helped the victims of the Waukesha Christmas Parade find comfort, shared in their loss and sorrow, prayed for the injured, and offered words of caring so that we may heal both physically and mentally. Although I have very specific thoughts on how I and the parade families would want revenge on the convicted for what he did, I hand over his fate now to God. So I will let God determine the revenge I ask for, be it a week, a month, a year, a lifetime. I think it's fair to say the convicted is an evil animal, and I hope that God's wrath falls upon him. It actually started before the trial did, because he took away his own God-given name. Didn't want to be known by his name. I refuse to accept him as a person that deserves compassion or mercy. I too regret Wisconsin does not have the death penalty, because if someone ever deserved it, the convicted most certainly does. Life in prison is too kind. That Bible on your table will not do you any good for where you will end up. I have struggled this past year with Jenny's loss. It was to be her last parade. She was going to retire. I will continue to struggle with the loss. I am lucky to have family to care for me and wrap me in love so that I can start to glue together the shattered life I now have. I know Jenny probably saved our two granddaughters, who sit behind me, their lives by carrying the banner that day in their place, and I thank God for that. The life that Jenny and I built over 56 years of marriage was forever altered nearly a year ago. I will carry on in this new life with help from my family and friends. The life I was once able to share with Jenny is gone, but it has strengthened my family's closeness and in a way made us stronger for the great challenges we have ahead of us. I feel sorry she will not be able to hold a great-grandchild or see all of her grandchildren be successful in life, but I pray to her and know she is watching over us. My Christian faith and church have helped me cope with my sadness and find hope and love over hate. My friends have lifted me up in their prayers. My family carries my burden with me. My dogs at home give me a small measure of comfort when I am in need. Angels will watch over all of us and give us strength. Now I want you to use your imagination a little bit. When it thunders, I imagine that Jackson is blasting a home run over the fence. When there is a rainbow, I will imagine the dancing grannies, Jenny, Tammy, Lee, and Bill, with them dancing along its lines. When there's a ray of sunshine poking through the clouds, I will imagine it is Jane, smiling down on us. When it snows like it did this morning, I will imagine God's love giving us a blanket and comfort. When I see a blue light, I see this community's commitment to help heal and support each other. Judge, you have witnessed the same evil I have. You have endured a very emotional and draining trial as I have. I ask for the full punishment within your power. I ask you to send this evil animal to life in prison with no chance for parole for the callous murder of my wife and 5 others and injuring 61 others. He should never have the opportunity to hurt another person and has forfeited his right to be a free man ever again by his violent actions against innocent lives, both young and old. You are a very evil, evil animal. Amen.
Thank you. I have one very brief statement from a young woman who was marching with the grannies, and then we have, I believe, 3 statements from one more family before the next group will have to be brought in. This is a statement from a young woman who was holding the banner with the grannies, and she marked down that the crime made her feel sad, mad, scared, and then also wrote in valuable. Asked if you were the judge, what would you do to the offender? She checked, send them to prison, and then her own idea of make the offender go through the physical and emotional pain I went through.
Thank you. My name is Taylor Kulik. Standing next to me is my oldest son, Robert. I am the oldest daughter of my mother, Jane Kulik, and it is on her behalf that I will be making a statement today, as she's unable to speak for herself. November 21st, 2021, the day my life was forever changed. The day my mom was murdered. It's still hard to believe that my mom was killed while marching in a Christmas parade. I will never forget that day. When I received the phone call stating that my mom had been hit, I rushed to the hospital to find her. Within minutes of arriving at Waukesha Memorial, people of all ages flooded into the ER. Many injured, many searching for their family members, just like we were. It was complete chaos. After 3 hours spent searching and waiting, finally, a nurse came and asked us to sit down. My heart sank. I listened as they told us how my mom was unconscious when she was loaded into the ambulance, that they tried to save her, but the damage was too severe for her to fight. She was dead upon arrival. She didn't even make it to the hospital. It hit me like a ton of bricks. My mom was just murdered. She was dead. I did not sleep at all that night. All I did was cry. I sobbed for the loss of my mother. I bawled for the pain of my children losing their grandmother. And I wept for the rest of my family as we had all just lost an absolute gem. Next picture, please. I still cry, even as we approach 1 year without her. This year of all the firsts without my mom has been difficult, to say the least. Every holiday, birthday, and monumental life moment, each of those moments another reminder that she's not here. She was known for giving cards on every occasion, and she showed up to everything she was invited to. She was always present because she genuinely cared. You could tell by the way her smile lit up the room or how contagious her laughter was. Her presence alone was just a sense of comfort, a feeling of home. She was supportive, encouraging, and just so laid back that you couldn't help but get along with her. These are just some of the reasons we all love and miss her so much. Next picture, please. Her name was Jane Kulik. Her sister called her Pain, so she was Auntie Pain to my cousins, and known only as Grandma to my kids. But for me, her name was Mom. Mom and I were super tight. I could talk to her about anything in the world. We used to text each other almost every day, talk on the phone almost at least once a week, and go out to lunch, just her and I, every other week. Every day, I'm missing those text messages. I miss hearing her voice on the phone and receiving her adorable voicemails, or seeing her face light up when I unexpectedly pop up at the house. To simply say I miss my mom is a dramatic understatement of my true feelings. I'm devastated, a bit lost, and I can't fully describe how it feels other than a piece of me is missing. My smile is not so bright. I don't laugh the same anymore because I'm just not the same. I have never experienced such a painful level of sadness for so many consecutive days. I have never felt this level of heartache for myself or for my kids. Even though we talk about it, I can only imagine how my kids have felt this past year. Not only are they coping with the loss of their own grandmother, but also they've had to watch me, their mom, grieve my mom. My oldest son is dreading his upcoming birthday, just like we all did this year, as it's his first in 15 years without her. My mom always said they had a special bond, and they really did. She had a unique bond with each of her grandkids, as she did with each of us. My other son, Darius, was worried that he would forget his grandma's voice. And my daughter, Kylie, is finally able to talk about her grandma without tearing up. Each of my kids had a super close relationship with their grandma, and they're all missing her deeply. We were all so close, from family game nights, barbecues, Sunday drives, to family vacations and beyond. We really did a lot together. We've tried to continue all these things without her, but they're different now. As the kids say, it's just not right without Grandma. Some things will never be the same without her. Everywhere we go, there seems to be exactly one empty chair that she should be seated in. A perfect amount of empty space in a family photo where she should be standing. Or a little moment of silence where she should be laughing or adding to the conversation. Empty space. That's what it feels like. Empty, broken, shattered. Our family has an empty space where one of our members belong. An irreplaceable person was taken away from us abruptly. A member of our family unexpectedly gone. The rest of us left with a broken heart, shattered by the murder of an incredible person, left with an empty space that only she could fill. You can go to the next one, please. At this time, I would like to address my mother's murderer. Whatever your name is, I don't care. You ran over my mom like she was mere roadkill. The only reason you hit the brakes that day was to get her off the hood of your car. You targeted her with your vehicle, and you hit her on purpose. You don't deserve to be here. You do not deserve forgiveness. You somehow still get to talk to your mom, but mine is gone forever because you killed her. It's astonishing to me that any person could have absolutely zero regard for their fellow human being. Since you call yourself a man of God, then you know that the only punishment you are deserving of is death 6 times over. And I can't wait for the day that I hear you're dead in prison. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
My name is Alicia Kulik, and I am the youngest daughter of Jane Kulik. I've tried to figure out where to start, and there really isn't anywhere specific to start off with. I can't put all of my emotions onto however many pieces of paper because there's just not enough, at least in my mind. I've waited for this day, both anxiously, yet ready to share my piece on the matter. I'm here speaking upon behalf of my mother and the rest of my family, and my twin brother standing right next to me. I've been to most of the trial that I can make it to, as it is my first year in college, and my mom would want me to put my schooling first. I have many emotions on this subject, but without a doubt, the most extensive emotion I feel is grief. At the time of this tragedy, I was 17 years old, and I was starting my senior year of high school, which most people would think should be your best time of school. But for me, it was anything but that. I was starting my college journey, at least trying to. My mom managed to take my brother and I on at least 2 college tours before she had passed. It was my last prom, my 18th birthday, and of course graduating, all of which I did not enjoy. Not one of them. The joy of these things were stripped away from me quickly on November 21st of 2021. I can tell you every last detail about that day, up to the clothes I was wearing. I can tell you what show I was watching, as I am thankful that I was sick that day and couldn't be at the parade to see what many got to see, unfortunately. I was bummed at first because I was sick that day and I couldn't see my mom march in her first ever parade. She was really excited. Granted, she's marched in parades before alongside my brother and I through WPRF, but this time the light was supposed to shine on just her. I don't think that it had been 2 hours since she left that my dad got a phone call from someone my mom had been marching with, stating that she had been hit by a car. At first I thought my dad was just upset about something over work, because that's kind of common. Or what my mind went to was that maybe the after parade traffic was pretty bad and she collided with another car, not a car to person. I remember the first thing I did is my dad told us all to run and get our shoes, and before anybody got into the car, I called my best friend. And I told her that my mom had been hit and I didn't know the extent to which how bad the situation was, and I would fill her in whenever I could. On the way to the hospital was when reality quickly set in, and oh, how I wish I was right. I wish that it was just this, I just wish that it was a car-on-car crash, not an SUV to person. As we got closer to the hospital, the drasticity of this incident was quickly revealed. Ambulances were surrounding the hospital, and the waiting room was a triage. I will never forget the things I saw that day. I will never forget the chaos of parents searching for their children, demanding answers as we were for my mom. My dad rushed into the back. He had this sweatshirt on that had an ambulance symbol on it that he just thrifted and used it to his advantage. I specifically remember seeing the extreme dancers with gashes in their head and cuts all over their body and blood all over their clothes. In one direction, I saw one girl, probably no older than 10, seizing in her wheelchair, and the mother just screaming, not knowing what to do for her precious child. In the other end, I saw a girl that was on a blanket on the floor. She was screaming every time she was touched. And when we couldn't find out any information about where my mom was, I quickly knew. Quickly my brain knew before my heart did the outcome. I'd never thanked my dad for this, but I appreciated the optimism and the composure he kept during the longest waiting period of my life. He was optimistic, saying that God would make everything okay. And we'd even joke around a little bit about my mom while she was dead. When a doctor finally approached us, I was in the bathroom. I had to take some time away from my family as I didn't want them to see I was upset. My older sister, she pulled me out and she told me that they finally had some information. And when they brought us back to the room and told us to sit down, you just know. I had to prepare myself for what I was about to hear. Hearing that my mom had deathly injuries in her head and her lungs and all the rest of her organs, and she was deceased. That is the words that he used. She was deceased. That is something that I will never be able to unhear, along with what I saw in the triage of that hospital waiting room that day. Oftentimes when I hear sirens, I'm scared. I'm scared that another family has to go through what I went through, what my family went through. And it's terrifying that in the world we live in, something like that can happen in the blink of an eye. We were driven home by a squad car that day, considering none of us were in good condition to drive. And I'll never forget all the phone calls I had to make to tell our loved ones that my mom was dead, that she didn't get the chance. She did not get a say in the matter. I remember calling my best friend, all of my best friends, and they stayed with me till 3 in the morning, and my boyfriend, they all did. And the next day I didn't even want to get out of bed. I couldn't. I still spend every day just waiting for this nightmare to end. As I think that second day, it still hasn't fully processed yet that my mom was no longer with us. I never would wish on my worst enemy to have the burden to share such horrible news that nobody ever prepares you for. After all is said and done, I couldn't get out of bed for a few days, nor did I have much of an appetite. The next few days consist of me trying to put together this new life, all of which still doesn't sink in sometimes. But other days, believe me, it does. Even though I've received so much love and support from the community, my friends, and my family, I've never felt so alone. I don't think I'd ever be capable of feeling this much pain in my life, but here I am. I'm watching my siblings and my nephews and niece and my cousins and my aunt and all the rest of my family going through this. It's just terrible. Up to today, I've experienced every holiday officially, besides my oldest nephew's birthday, without my mom, and they've all sucked. Every last one of them. I slept through most of Thanksgiving. Christmas was probably the most depressing of all. It's supposed to be a time of cheer and joy, but how was I supposed to feel any of these things with my mom being dead? It was her favorite time of year, which made it even harder to enjoy. Every time we went to church, the song Silent Night came on, and she'd always cry. And now I do the same. I also had my 18th birthday, 2 months after she was murdered. If it wasn't for my sister planning an amazing party for both my brother and I don't think I would have gotten out of bed that day. She was the woman that brought me into this world, and it didn't feel right celebrating without her. I had my senior prom without her, and she didn't get the chance to tell me how beautiful I looked, and then embarrass me with a bunch of pictures. I had to walk the stage at my high school graduation without my #1 supporter cheering me on in the crowd. I received scholarships, and my mom didn't get to tell me how proud of me she was. I spent most of my senior year in the guidance counselor's office, catching up on all the missing work that I had, simply because I couldn't focus in class or at home, because I was too sad. There was a classmate in my school that truly understood what I was going through besides my friend and family. The day after the parade incident happened, she called me and she asked if I was okay because her family had experienced what I had. Her little sister was part of the dance team and she was there and saw her sister get hit by this SUV. And as bad as it seems to say, I was glad in that moment that I had somebody that could relate to my situation that wasn't family. I felt for once that I had somebody that I could bond with, that truly understood the emotions that I was feeling. I'm so glad that she didn't get to experience the extent of what I did and having to lose a loved one from the moment, but she came close. I love you guys. Quite often, I also think about my future as I think about my past memories with my mom. And although I wish I could say present memories, I don't have any. I think about how my mom won't be at my wedding, and I'm gonna save a seat for her but she won't be there, and she won't get to see me say my vows or get married to the love of my life, and she won't ever get to see my future kids, and they won't know what it's like to have a grandma that spoils them, and how I have to be the one with the burden to tell them of what happened to their grandmother and why they don't have one. I won't ever get to ask my mom for parenting advice as a first-time mom. You, Darrell Brooks, took these experiences away from both me and my brother, as he will be in the same position as I am. And I wish I could say that I don't carry anger in my heart, but that's just simply not true. I'm angry that all this could have been prevented if you had just stopped. I think about how my mom saw what was coming, and she knew that there was absolutely nothing she could have done about it. I'm angry because, as if my mom flying over the roof of your car wasn't good enough for you, you slammed on your brakes to get her off and continued to run her over. She wouldn't even had a fighting chance because of you. I'm angry that all of us had to relive this trauma, as you sat in that chair for weeks, not giving a single crap about any of these people. I've watched as you mocked the Bible and people's religion and the fake tears that you put on. I've watched as you gave your closing statement about asking the jury to do what they think is right, when you couldn't have just done that yourself in the first place. I've waited for you to have a reason as to why you did all of this, so that maybe somehow I could get the slightest bit of closure. But I never will. A lot of people have asked me how I feel about the verdict. I feel happy that he was found guilty on all counts. Well, the jury found him guilty on all counts. But you know, it doesn't do crap for me, because that won't change what happened to my mom. She will not be coming home ever again. She will not ever make me another dinner. She will not ever attend my wedding. And I'll never get to hear her voice or hug her again. So really, it changes nothing for me. The only thing that it gives me at this time that I can say is that I know our justice system has persevered and that they have done my mom right. And I thank you all for that, along with all the other victims. My life will never be the same because of you, Darrell Brooks. I have not enjoyed a single day fully since my mom has died. I'm depressed. A lot of the time, I don't watch certain shows anymore because it reminds me of my mom. I don't do certain things because it just hurts too much. I spent most of my summer inside instead of enjoying the sun and the warmth that we only get for a short period of time here in Wisconsin. I spent it inside, being sad. You don't know what it's like. I had to be in that waiting room, and my oldest nephew was texting me and asking me what is wrong and where his grandma was. And I couldn't lie to him. I had to say something. I was there when we had to break the news to my nephews and my niece that their grandma was not coming home. And I saw the tears run down their young, innocent faces and broke them. My nephew Darius, he's always been into video games. But recently, all he does is stay in his room on the video games, and he doesn't really come out much anymore, and I can't help but think that's because of this incident, that he can't see my mom smile, that she was taken from all of us way too young. My mom was the glue that kept this family together, and without her, we've been falling apart. We've been struggling to stick together because nothing's the same. And I blame you for that. Every piece of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Greg Houston. This is my wife Carrie, family members of Jane Kulik. The definition of an angel is a person of exemplary conduct or virtue. They are tasked to keep thee in all ways. Jane Kulik had many roles and relationships in her life, all of them purposeful and endearing. The impact in her many lifelong friendships were far-reaching and will forever be felt. Jane had spent 52 years on this earth before she was ripped away from us by you on my daughter's birthday, which should have been a happy day. She was simply enjoying and celebrating the start of the season she loved best by handing out candy with her coworkers during the Christmas parade. That morning she went to church. She called her niece to wish her a happy birthday, planning to call her later in the day, and spend time talking and relaxing with her family before getting ready to go for a pre-parade lunch and Packer game with the last people who would see her alive. Jane considered those close to her as family. She had several families and roles within them. Some of them were daughter, sister, mother, wife, grandmother, aunt, and best friend. If you had gotten to know Jane, you would have known how seriously she took those roles and relationships. Her people were everything, and her biggest blessings and motivators were her children, Taylor, Jacob, and Alicia, husband John, her grandchildren, Robert, Darius, and Kylie. She was happiest when surrounded by all of them, planning trips, hearing about daily growing glows, having game night, and even just falling asleep while enjoying a movie together. The Benz Houston family was honored and blessed to spend 42 of those 52 years with Jane as our family. There are too many memories to list that include her. Memories that were both big and little life events. We would often hear stories of how her and her coworkers joked about her clumsiness, would be dressing up for the holidays, looked forward to and celebrated each other's milestones, or just planned to hang out. She was there for everything and for everyone. If she could not be there in person, she made up for it through weekly phone calls that would have you laughing yourself silly and creating a plan much like the one we had made the night before to go shopping, make cookies, just a fun holiday celebration. She was always willing and happy to help out, positive, never judgmental, spreading grace and patience to all she encountered. She loved, honored, and held dear her people and their places in her life.
Our places in her life were forced to change instantly on November 21st, 2021. Our places in her life became now the people that were responsible for helping to keep her family together and keep them strong, help her children and her grandchildren make it through everything. You changed our place in her life. You made it forefront and you made us helpless because we
don't feel that we could do those things the way she could have. We feel inadequate and broken because of you. The evening of November 21st, 2021, everything changed. That evening, Alicia sent me a message saying, "Auntie, Mom's been hit and we don't know where she is or where they took her." We immediately drove out there to find her and helped make several phone calls to area hospitals to find her. After several hours of not having any answers, we finally decided to go sit in the lot of Waukesha Memorial, where her children and husband were trying to find out information and were under a lockdown. We couldn't even go hug them. After hours of not receiving confirmation, Taylor finally sent the hardest message I have ever had to read. "She's dead. She's dead." My daughter collapsed to the ground, and I turned to my husband and begged and cried for him to bring her back. I wanted her back. To tell you I know how we all moved and survived after that would be a lie. In the hours, days, and now a year following that night, we have all talked in the quiet hours when heartache, loneliness, nightmares, and anger set in about how much we miss her. For validation of our feelings and questioning of those same feelings, things we shouldn't have had to question. The question asked most by us is if Jane would have granted you grace. I know my answer. I know that she was the type of person that would have, never saying anything bad about anyone. But for us, it's just not that simple, sir. This is what we do know, though, as Jane's collective whole. We will and never could ever forget her. We mourn the fact that she missed her twins' senior year in graduation. We mourn the loss of her presence every day, and especially at family functions. We miss the long weekly phone calls on Wednesdays and Fridays, reminiscing about old times, people we miss in just our daily lives. We miss her hugs, the smell of her hair, her trying to hold in a laugh when we would make faces at an inappropriate time. And as we say, we miss the 47 faces of Jane, much of which could be seen in the pictures taken just hours before her death. We are angry she will never be the mother of the brides or have the mother-son dance at her children's weddings. We are angry she will never get to make stronger bonds with the newest members of our family or hold the grandchildren and family yet to be born to her children or even ours. We are saddened that you feel you are suffering because your life has changed. For us, it changed the night you ripped her away from us and drove by with her body on top and slowed down and ran her over. You say you have a clear conscience. How can you suffer if you have a clear conscience? At least you will always still be able to make the phone calls, write the letters, and visit with your people. We simply cannot, sir. Above all else, we are angry that Jane became known by people more because of the day she died and the way she died than because of who she was. Taking all of that into consideration, we ask that you please hand down the maximum sentence for each conviction that you possibly could. The definition of an angel is a person of exemplary conduct and virtue. They are tasked with keeping their people safe, keeping them cherished, and keeping them loved. Those are all the things she did. So by that definition alone, Jane was an angel on earth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Those are the comments for group 3, Your Honor.
All right, then we'll take a 10-minute break and have you set up for the fourth group.
Thank you.
There you are, ladies and gentlemen. These are the victim statements, impact statements here for the Waukesha Christmas parade. And they're going to take a 10-minute break, so I think we're going to take a break as well. We'll see you back in about 10 minutes.